Good evening. The City Council will convene on Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 to hold a regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business via in-person and remote participation in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law C-30A, Section 18. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. The meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. 2. Real-time public comments during public can be addressed to the Peabody City Council utilizing software for remote access. This application to view and make to the chair by the option. Please join me in a moment of silence. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Gould. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, councilors. Before we hop into the agenda this evening, the mayor's joined us and would like to share a few words about Captain Dowling. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, council. Great to be with you. Hope everybody's doing well. Very happy to bring forward Jay Dowling to be our new fire chief. I know all of you are very much aware of that. Jay is scheduled to be sworn in as the next fire chief Thursday, week from tonight at 6 p.m. Hopefully you're able to join us for that event. It's great. We have a number of representatives, a number of members of the Peabody Fire Department here today. Before I speak about Jay, I did want to thank Chief Joe Daly for his 4 years of leadership in the fire department. He came in at a very difficult time. He'd been sworn in, and a few months later, COVID hit, and really changed that job considerably. And like all departments, we're deeply affected by COVID, and it's taken us a long time to work our way through that, but Joe had an extremely steady hand, was able to help work through a number of difficult issues, and very grateful for his leadership. And I wanted to thank him publicly and recognize him publicly. I know all of you feel as I do. But I'm very happy to bring forward our next fire chief, Jay Dowling. I think all of you, or many of you, know Jay extremely well. He's been a very familiar face within the department, and somebody that we all know well, really involved in a number of community events. But to give a little background on Jay, the Peabody degree in fire science from North Shore Community College and his bachelor degree in criminal justice from Salem State University. He is certified by the Massachusetts Fire Academy in fire prevention, hazardous materials, and advanced fire investigation. He was a firefighter in 1996 and steadily climbed the ranks. In 2001, a captain in 2004, and a deputy chief in 2021. The Peabody Fire Honor Guard and as of the Peabody Department Relief Association. Many hats within the department, is always willing to give attention not to the needs of the but for the needs of the city. Brings us over 25 years of experience as a member of the Peabody Fire Department, demonstrated extraordinary leadership during his 17 years as a captain, 5 years as a chief, and I think we're hands with Jay for him in the years ahead. And his wife Kim to up if it's okay and to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank the City Council. I know look forward to working. I just want to thank all my fellow firefighters who are here tonight. It's an honor to be the fire chief of the City of Peabody and to lead the men and women of the Peabody Fire Department. And I'm very excited to get started and look forward to working with everyone on the council. So thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So again, Jay is scheduled to be sworn in next Thursday, June 29th at 6 p.m. here at the Wigan Auditorium. The following day, Friday, would be Chief Joe Daly's last day, and then Jay would take the office at that time. So thank you, Mr. President. And if I could, I did want to ask if a couple of late communications could be received. I regret bringing these to you, but there's a couple of, one is a grant opportunity that I wanted to try to take advantage of. And if it's okay with the council, I can speak to it. It's a grant for our water system. We have the opportunity to receive a $150,000 grant. It would be really a GPS mapping system to utilize for our underground pipes, some booster pump stations, sewer pump stations, different parts of the city. And I think it would go a long way to curing some of the concerns we have at times about old infrastructure and not having proper mapping. But it's a little bit of a time deadline on the submission, and wanted to bring it forward if it could be received today and then marked up for hearing on July 13th. I don't need a vote or anything on this. I wouldn't want to bring that forward to you at that time. But I want to see if it could be received and marked up for hearing on July 13th. We could have Will Pollitt here, city engineers, to come and speak to more of the specifics at that time. But I wanted to see if I could have that received as a late communication. And then the other item I wanted to bring forward.
Motion to receive on late 4, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gould. On the motion, Councilor Manning.
Thank you. I don't object to receiving them as long as they're just going to be referred and no action to be taken on both late 3 and 4, since we just received them about a half an hour ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This should be referred to Finance.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Gould, would you like to amend your motion to refer to Finance?
Amend my motion to late 4 to refer to Finance, please.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
Mr. President and Mayor, do we want to vote on Mr. Dowling, on Jay Dowling?
I don't think we need a vote for the new police chief, not being a civil service position. I don't think so, but if we wanted to take a vote, certainly I'd welcome the support for Jay, and I'm sure he would love to hear the support from the City Council.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation for Fire Chief Jay Dowling. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould, Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, Councilors. Congratulations, Chief Dowling.
Thank you for that, Councilor Gould. That was great. Thank you, Council.
So we have late 4 was received. Do we want to have a motion for late 3 as well?
Motion to receive and refer to Finance? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Excuse me, Councilor McGinn.
We're talking about late 3 now?
Sorry.
Late,
Yes.
I think this one probably is Legal Affairs.
I'd like to amend my motion to send to Legal Affairs, not Finance, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Actually, one other item, if I could, and I agree with Councilor Manning Martin. Both of these would be no action tonight other than to receive them. Votes would be required on July 13th. The second one, just want to mention, is in regards to the new public safety building that we've been working on. We've had advisors working with our architect team, and the recommendation from the advisors is to go with a, what is it? CM at risk, construction management, rather than design, bid, build. It's just a different form in terms of the construction and the process. The recommendation is to go with the construction manager at risk. That would require us to notify the Massachusetts State, to notify them of what process we're going to be going through. And we just need a council vote on July 13th looking to make that recommendation. We would have Dan Doucette here. We would have Mike Gingras, Jim Hafey to give specifics as to what that vote specifically is and provide the information necessary to make sure all of you are comfortable with the different alternatives and options we have. But we've had a great group working on this now for a few months. Julie Daigle is on part of that committee, as well as Joe Amico, and they've been working with our team. John Blodgett, the Essex County DA, who's retired, is on part of that team as well. It's a good group, and the recommendation was solid. It's the same process we're doing now at the Welch School, the same exact process. We've had success with that, and we're looking to continue that with that vote. So it would just be, again, to receive and marked up for July 13th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we need a motion? All right.
Thank you, Council, for your courtesy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, before we hop into the agenda, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. If there's no objection from the council, if we could take, under suspension of the rules, item 10A out of order, that would be the notice of reconsideration that I requested.
Thank you, councilors. Councilors, we heard the motion from Councilor Turco. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on, excuse me.
Need a roll call on that?
This is to vote on the motion to reconsider. Yep. Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
No.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould, Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache, Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion to reconsider carries 10-1.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on the motion, as you know, we took this the other night. I wasn't, no intention on swaying anybody's vote. I inadvertently made the wrong vote to support this. Fundamentally, I just disagree with sharing contract language that was negotiated by organized labor with, ordinance employees. So I just wanted to change my personal vote, if possible. So, Mr. President, you could put that up for a vote.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. We'll need a motion from another councilor regarding the reconsideration.
So the motion to approve an ordinance amending Section 18-43 entitled Ordinance Establishing Fringe Benefits for Municipal Employees of the City of Peabody, excluding fire, police, electrical, school personnel, and other employees covered by collective bargaining of the Code of the City of Peabody as approved June 8, 2023. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On 10A, can someone explain why we have two different tally sheets on, and the language is different?
Mr. President,
Yep.
Councilor McGinn.
through to Councilor Manning Martin, I had the same question earlier. I think the pages are just out of order. So I think the last page should be the second page, and it makes sense if you reverse those pages. So there's there's 2 pages attached. And the motion,
so-
carries through to 2 pages. There's only 1 tally. It's on that.
Okay, so that being the case, is this what was read before us on June 8th to include the longevity?
Yeah, since I chaired the committee, I'll answer the question. It is. And it was voted out, we reported it out, and it was successful at the full council.
Okay, then I'm glad that this is up for reconsideration, because I kind of want to discuss that then. I didn't notice that longevity was also included, and I respect and understand Councilor Turco's position in asking for it to be reconsidered for his own personal vote. But given another look at this, I didn't notice that longevity was included. And certainly, if you like your weekends and holidays off, thank the labor union. so I respect that. But in this case, when it says longevity, holidays, personal days, funeral, and civic duty leave, again, I have no problem with all of these. Had it not been for the raises and the large salary increases that we had given many managers and directors of certain departments, we had given them bumps and large salary increases, and it was presented to us to retain these positions so they didn't get, as Councillor Melville said, basically poached by the state or other communities. So that was in the pitch to give those individuals a large bump. So should those same individuals also get longevity? You give longevity to people to reward and retain. If you give longevity to the individuals that just received that large salary, those large salary increases, that's more of a reward, retain, reward. It seems like they're getting another bite at the apple. Now, I don't necessarily have, again, the issue of giving, say, longevity and the 3% salary increases. I really didn't take issue with for people, making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. But when we continue to treat them the same, those that are making $120,000, $130,000, $140,000, and treat them the same as those that are $50,000, $60,000, then we again have, the great divide again of the have and the have-nots. I really don't think that we should be giving longevity to the individuals that received such huge salary increases at the higher end of the budget. It seems to me to be kind of another bite at the apple for them. And I just don't think it should be included. Again, we need to, in my opinion, we need to start separating these types of reward and retain payments and increases. We need to group these folks individually by salary and by management. I really don't think management should be getting longevity because they've already gotten other bonuses. So that's something to me that I think is more in the line, as Councilor Turco, I believe, is indicating, is more of a union contract negotiated issue that really sticks out for me. So I am glad that he brought it up for reconsideration because I did not notice the longevity that was going to be included with all those huge salary increases. So I'm going to change my vote as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Any other councilors? Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
No.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
No.
Gould,
No.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-3.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to the agenda, item 4A, hearings. First, we have a petition regarding Verizon New England. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on petition 1A 6J 5NH, submitted by Verizon, 85 High Street, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, requesting to install one joint-owned pole, utility pole, number T.8S/E.8S on the northwesterly side of Sutton Street at a point approximately 55 feet southwesterly from the center line of Wallace Ann Road. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please approach the podium? All right, seeing no petitioner. Could I get a motion to recess item 4A?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion?
Did we check online, but just before we vote on that? Mr. President, I'm just asking because I had talked to PMLP earlier about this. I know it's not their petition, it's Verizon, but they had indicated to me that Verizon would be here, so I'm surprised they're not.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. The clerk is checking. Don't see anybody online.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can't see who it is. Hello, is James, are you with Verizon?
Correct. Yes, I'm representing Verizon New England tonight. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, James, we can hear you. Just 1 second while we procedurally discuss something real quick.
Sure.
Sorry, councilors, just trying to procedurally figure this out. As we prefer to have the petitioner in person, we'll need a motion if we want to allow James to join us remotely this evening for this presentation. So if we do want to have him join remote, we'll need a motion to affirm that. And if we do not, we can recess this currently and request that James or a colleague of his from Verizon join us in person at the next meeting. Councilor Gould. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, can I, if you don't mind, I'll defer to Councilor McGinn, being that it's in his word. Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, in this instance, it sounds like we have a pretty good connection. If that's the case, I would move to proceed with the remote participation by the applicant on this particular matter. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. We only have to go back a month, and remember that we didn't allow a petitioner to do it online. He said he'd come down here, and we said we'd wait for him. We recessed it. I just think we have to be fair. I'm going to vote against allowing the petitioner to be on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Manning Martin.
I concur with Councilor Gould, and we also have a motion to recess on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Turco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was about to say exactly what Councilor Gould said. We had a resident come down here in the middle of a meeting. And if it's good for the residents, it's good for Verizon. They can be here in person.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will agree with the motion to recess and withdraw my earlier comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. There's still a motion on the floor, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Actually, I apologize. Councilor McGinn just pulled his motion off the floor, so sorry. I apologize. Councilor Manning Martin, you're the floor.
The motion to recess that you requested is on the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Rough night so far. So, Councilor, so the motion on the floor, we're going to do a roll call vote to recess.
Councilors Turco,
No.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
No.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rossignol,
Yes.
Gamache, Melville, McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-2 to recess.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you as we work through that. And James from Verizon, we are going to request that either yourself or a colleague can come back and present in front of us, as that's a procedural requirement on our end. So the next date will be July 13th. So either yourself or a colleague will need to come back for that meeting.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Moving on, item 4B, Class 2 motor vehicle license. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Mandalitas Auto Repair, DBA Tire Depot and Auto Service, 1 Willard Street, Units 11 and 12, Peabody, Mass., requesting a Class II motor vehicle license at said 1 Willard Street, Units 11 and 12, Peabody, Mass. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please join us at the podium? Good evening. If you could just state your name and your address and tell us what you'd like to do.
Okay. My name is Peter Mandalitas. I own Tire Depot and Auto Service at 11 Willard Street. I wanted to apply for a used car license as another source of income for my business. I've been, ever since COVID, I've lost all my employees. I hired back some more, so we need more employees, but we don't have enough of them, so I need another stream of income. So we can fix the cars, I can sell them, just to help balance off everything that's going on. And so yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Mandalitas. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had the opportunity to have a phone call with the applicant about the request. I think it's pretty reasonable. I drove by his shop location. If you have never been down Willard Street, it looks great right now. There's been a lot of cleanup that's happened in these lots over the past 2 years, which we do appreciate. There is a recommended condition from the health department that there's a plan in place from the property owner for removing tires so that they don't become a health hazard or a mosquito breeding location. He does have a current contract where the tires are removed on a consistent schedule from his property, so I think we're all set with that. I will add that to the condition to the license as well. And then from the collector's office, there were some back taxes owed on the 2 lots. This is over 2 different parcels. I spoke to the applicant. He did make a payment today. Last minute, I'm not entirely sure that everything is squared away, so I will condition that this license is only issued once the taxes are paid. So I'll turn it over to fellow councilors.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Turco.
Thank you. I appreciate you adding the condition, but my understanding is that the payments weren't made today. So we do have the tax collector here, if you'd like to ask that question, but I'm told that they weren't made today.
Can I?
Councilor Peach.
If the tax collector wants to address, I received a receipt. It's over 2 different parcels, so I don't.
Mr. President, through you, if I could I have the tax collector to the podium?
Yep.
He's just going to step in. Hi. So he owes 2 years of tax title, which is with the treasurer's office, and he owes about 8 years back taxes in personal property. And its totals about, just the tax title itself is about $6,000.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the information. So, no disrespect, Councilor, I just, I knew that I had called also, so I knew that he didn't pay. But I wouldn't be in favor of moving forward. I don't think we ever move forward without, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be in favor of moving forward while the tax debt is out there. It's actually tax title. It's not even, a back tax debt. So, which is a bit different, as we know. It takes a lot to get into tax title. So I would prefer the petitioner pay his taxes and then come back and resubmit. Just my preference.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any other counselors on this matter? Counselor Peach?
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand Councilor Turco's concern. I mean, truthfully, the note that we got on here doesn't really explain what the issue is. So I guess I'd ask in the future a little bit more detail. I think where this is a license that will help his business generate additional income, I wouldn't want to really stifle that. I know we've had other issues come before us where back taxes are owed and we have approved. So I think the taxes that, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're in tax title, you're on a payment plan. So there's a plan in place for us to recuperate that. And I mean, I don't work in the collector's office, so I have no idea. But I wouldn't want to stifle an opportunity to generate additional income that could help the petitioner pay his taxes to the city of Peabody, and instead see his business close due to financial constraints, and we never really see those taxes be collected.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Melville?
Thank you, Mr. President. Maybe I'd like to get some thoughts from some of the councilors that have been on the council for a while in situations like this in the past, but I wouldn't feel comfortable approving anything tonight until the petitioner and the city maybe get on a plan that they can both be agreeable to. Since this isn't tax title, it's slightly different than having a balance. But I'd like to get some feedback from fellow councilors that may have seen this in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. We're going to go to Councilor Gould and Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Peach. Councilor Peach, is the applicant the owner of the property? Yes. Okay. And how long has he owned the property?
I'd direct that question to the applicant.
Thank
I'm not
you.
aware, sorry.
I don't know if, since 2012.
And is there a reason you haven't paid taxes?
I just refinanced. I didn't know I had the back taxes. The only thing I saw on Unipay on the Peabody's website was the one that I saw and I paid, and I'll pay the whatever he said, $6,000 by the end of the month. That's not a big deal. I didn't know I had to. I didn't know I had the balance, but I'll pay it. It doesn't.
So a total of how much is owed?
He said 6,000, but I can talk to him.
Sorry, do you have a problem if we continue to July 13th and you come before us and show that you paid the back taxes and we can move forward?
I mean,
I shouldn't say that, Councilor Peach, this is your... but I'd like to see the back taxes paid before we...
Approve. Yeah, that's fine. That's not a problem with me.
But it's up to Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Manning Martin.
Yeah, thank you. You know, this petitioner opened with his explaining his predicament that he lost all his staff during COVID. Have we all forgotten what COVID did to small business? Put them out. Other people were able to stay home and work and get paid, and small businesses got croaked. So I don't think it's beyond this council to continue with this hearing, whether you approve the special permit or not, with conditions or not, contingent upon him paying his back taxes. He was put in a situation, he came right out front and said, I lost my staff, I went out of business due to COVID, and I want to sell a couple of cars to try and bring more income in so I can get back on my feet so he can feed his family. I don't think the council should, can't forget that. So I'm ready to move forward, go forward with the special hearing, put restrictions on, contingent upon him owing what he owes, and he must pay it before he can get a special permit. We've done it before, we should do it again. I'd like to continue.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Turco.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if Councilor Manning or the whole council heard what the tax collector said. He said since 2008, the taxes are in arrears. So, COVID didn't really correspond with the dates. So we're going back 8 years. I'm sorry, the tax collector said they're 8 years in arrears. So that was long before COVID. I appreciate it. I have sympathy for the petitioner also, but I'm sorry if anybody in this room didn't pay their taxes for 8 years. This would have been rectified.
I didn't own it in 2008, so I got to confirm what
I misspoke, sir. 8 years, not 2008. You owned it since 2011, but from 8, so you've owned it for 12 years. 8 out of the 12 years, you haven't paid taxes.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll quite simply say, while I understand everyone has struggled over the past few years, especially small businesses, we ask everyone and we treat them the same to pay their taxes. There's no reason where it's in tax title. This was not something that was unknown to the applicant. I'm not going to support this. The money should be paid before we move forward, but I will not support this special permit, even with conditions. This should have been taken care of by him well before this was sent to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, you know, the tax title process is a process where there's a lot of communication. Councilor Daigle probably add some color to that if she chooses to, but I'm hard pressed to believe somebody making a statement they didn't know they owed after 8 years and reaching the point of tax title. So I agree that we need to show compassion, and at many times in many places, I'm not sure this fits that. This is that time. I mean, it's in reading the communication with the further explanation from the collector's office. I think it's $1,944 plus $3,814 plus $6,000. So I think that's, if I'm reading it correctly, that's what we're talking about here. I don't think we're talking about 6,000. We're talking about significantly more than that. He just reported what was owed to his office. In addition, there's this tax title issue, if I understood correctly.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Rosenau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would be in favor of pushing this off until our next meeting and see if the tax issue can be clarified. I absolutely do not feel comfortable voting on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rosenau. Councilor Manning Martin, then Councilor Daigle.
Thank you for allowing me to speak again. Just as it's been pointed out here by both Councilors Peach and Councilor McGinn, how confusing the documentation and report that we got tonight on this matter. I think it's quite feasible that just as confusing communication went to the petitioner, probably repeatedly. So I think we should keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I've known Peter. He's a good businessman. He's improved the property, and I really want to support this, but I also want to be consistent with our requirement of paying what's owed and what's on the books. So I'm not sure that a couple weeks is going to make a big difference. I am going to defer to what Councilor Peach wants, but there is, to go into tax title, it's not just a couple late tax bills that might have got lost in the mail in that crazy complex back there that we have to fix. It's it's advertised in the newspaper. You get a legal bill. You've got liens on your property. It's at the Registry of Deeds. So there is a process. Once I'm a little disappointed that the treasurer had no objections, because I figured she might have given us a little more detail on the balance to that, which is separate from the collectors. So I'm going to defer to Councilor Peach, but in general, I think it's on us to, here's our one point to collect money that's due to the city, and if whatever contingencies might help collect it, I think is important, because we need that money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. The petitioner has stated he'll be able to clear this up by the end of the month, so judging by the will of the council, I will make a motion to continue this to our July 13th meeting, and then we will have a plan in place to move forward. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. All in favor? Excuse me, this is a roll call vote. Councilor Turco, excuse me. Roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache. Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to special permit 4C, Robert Mastrocola, 212 Newbury Street, regarding replacing current sign fence on a freestanding pylon sign. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Robert Mastrocola, 4 America Drive, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit requesting to replace the current sign face on a freestanding pylon sign with an electronic message sign for Bradford Floor and Home at 212 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. If the petitioner could provide your name and address and let us know what you'd like to do.
Thank you, councilors. My name is Matt Silva. I'm the general manager of Bradford Floor and Home on Newbury Street in Peabody. I'm joined here by my father-in-law, Bob Mastrocola, who's the founder and owner of the company. We're both longtime Peabody residents, and we're seeking your approval to update our existing pylon signage, which we feel is vital to our continued success. We appreciate your consideration, and if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in favor? Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. I have a couple of questions through the chair to you. The sign, it looks to be 137 inches across the top. What's the height? Probably the sign guy.
Sure, I can hop in and answer some of these technical questions.
Excuse me, would you just mind providing your name and your address as well?
Right, my name is Brian Brinkers, and I'm the owner of Acme Sign Company here in Peabody. We're up on Lake Limpar Drive.
Is this an addition to on top of the Namco sign, or is there an additional sign there right now?
So in looking at the drawing, it shows on the left is the existing and on the right is the proposed.
Yeah.
And then below that is a picture showing the height of 54 inches and the length of 140 inches for what's being proposed.
So
and
that's
it will
going
replace the existing.
It will replace the existing.
Correct, in the same position in size.
Is it, and you're going to have LED, is it a scroller, is it, what's the type of design? Is it going to be a scrolling message, or is it just going to be a stagnant LED sign?
Well, it's an electronic message center, which essentially means it can do anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're not going to play any television shows on it, but the ability is to be able to change messages, you know, advertise public services if you like. You know, you can really you can display any type of message that the operator would want to display.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the sign is going to be 25 feet high, and is that the current size of the sign that's there now, 25 feet high?
Correct, yeah. The sign stands, the existing sign stands 25 feet high, and the intention is to keep it at that same height.
The intention, so it's going to be the exact same sign, same size, okay. And then my next question is, what type of messages are you going, I would hope that you're not going to advertise other businesses on this messaging board. Is it just strictly going to be advertisement for your business? as not to compete with the billboards, right?
Correct, yes. It would only be for Bradford advertising and no off-premise advertising at all.
Okay, can you make that a condition of the permit, please, Counselor?
Councilor Gamache.
In response to Councilor Manning, if I may, they did say that they might put some community postings or something like that, if there's something going on in the community. Is that what you meant by, you know, if there's something going on and, you know, i.e. fireworks or something like that, they may put that on the board as a public announcement? Is that your intent?
Sure, if the board would approve of that and say that, you know, occasionally they can run a public service announcement or so, that would be fine. But not to advertise a pizza guy down the street.
Okay, that's basically what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
It's
I just
only for
wanted-
the
I-
intent of the business of Bradford and/or public service announcements.
Correct, and because these signs, as he said, can do many things, so I want to make sure that we put restrictions on, to be fair to the billboard companies that pay, I forget what, $15,000 and $25,000 annually to advertise on their own billboards. So I just want to make sure we have clear lines here, and they're not advertising. They're not getting paid to advertise. Thank you. And would you be putting the time up? Like, would it be time, day, and temperature? Is it going to be blinking?
Though it's capable, it's unlikely.
No. We might be time and temperature, but we're not going to blink or anything.
I wouldn't be adverse to that. I just, you know, I don't want you to misinterpret my concerns to put nothing up there. I mean, the time and the date and the weather, you know, things like that are useful to people. So, you know, if you wanted to, I don't want you to think that I'm putting that much of a restriction on it. I just don't want you to be advertising for other businesses other than your own. Thank you.
Yeah, no other businesses, but we probably would put, you know, time and temperature on there just as a courtesy to people passing by.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Gamache, if I may, on a similar project like this in Ward 1, we actually also conditioned for public service announcements and any emergency announcements, including Amber Alerts and things like that. So the mayor's office would always have the ability to work with the petitioner and push that as well. Just wanted to include that. Councilor Gould.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I'm in favor of this. Brian from Acme Signs does a fantastic job, quality work, very conscientious about the appearance of any work that he does and how it fits into the neighborhood. So I am definitely in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, let's vote. Councilor Gamache.
At this time, I move approval on the application from Robert Mastrocola, 4 America Drive, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit requesting to replace the current sign face on the freestanding pylon sign with an electronic message sign for Bradford Floor and Home at 212 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance, with the condition that it is only for the Bradford business and/or service and emergency announcements.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, discussion. Roll call vote.
Councilors Turk, Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill. Peach.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville. McGinn. Shelton. Carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4D regarding a zoning ordinance redesignating the clerk will read the notice. Thank you.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a hearing on Thursday evening, June 22, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium, City Hall, 24 Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40A, Section 5 of the Massachusetts General Laws to consider amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody as follows. Section 1, that the zoning map of the City of Peabody entitled City of Peabody Zoning Map, adopted April 28, 2011, as amended, is hereby further amended as follows. To redesignate the following parcels from residential R2 to central business BC. Assessors Map 85, parcel 002H and numbered 10 Monroe Street. Assessors Map 085, parcel 002I and numbered 12 Monroe Street. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by law. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov on the calendar, on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Could the petitioner's representation please introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City of Peabody City Council. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I represent 10 Monroe Realty, LLC of 9 Pondview Road here in Peabody, Massachusetts. I'm here for the purpose of amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody to redesignate as BC 2 parcels of land that are currently owned by my client and are designated R2. My client purchased the property on 11/23/22. We promptly thereafter petitioned for a zone change. That zone change was exactly the same as this. We went to the planning board, had a public hearing. Planning board ruled favorably. We came to the council, failed to come out of committee, and as such, we decided to put it before the council again. I know that there have been a couple of on-site meetings since our last time here. The public hearing before the city council on this matter was never held. We advertised, re-advertised, planning board re-advertised this evening. We're now, I believe, properly before you and would ask respectfully that the council, we've met on several occasions with the ward councilor and with our neighbors down on Monroe Street and Hardy. And this actual proposal to make it BC, we are adjacent to properties, most notably the car wash, which is business central. There's a small undeveloped parcel of land adjacent to the car wash across Monroe Street to us, which is also business central. So we believe that this zone change is in concert with the zoning that is around us. There have been condominium and apartment buildings developed at the Fairview Apartments, Peabody House, the condominiums that are at the corner of Walnut and between Walnut, Hardy, and Central. And we believe that this project puts us in a position to be able to more easily finance the project. And I think that this project is a little more compatible with the uses that are already developed down there. And with that, I'm happy to, my clients are here this evening, and I'm happy to answer questions that the council may have.
Thank you very much, Attorney Kelty. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Seeing none, anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition? Nope. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know I have shared my opinions on this zone change at our previous meeting. Just to reiterate, I have had several meetings with the neighbors as well as the applicant. The neighbors wanted to be here tonight to speak in favor, but the direct abutter is traveling tonight, and some others have work commitments. So I do speak on behalf. There was a consensus of the neighborhood, understandably, that this parcel, which is in a flood zone, which is contaminated, and in the state of our economy currently, It's undevelopable in an R2 zone. BC does fit this neighborhood as it's surrounded by BC distinctly. I think this is a good fit for the neighborhood. It was the risks and the downfalls were discussed with the residents. Very straightforward, and the consensus still came out. They'd rather see something developed here, as it's been an empty lot that is used as a dumping zone. The overgrowth happens very quickly there. A lot of drug deals and issues that arise because it's been vacant for so long. So I am in favor of this. I do hope this passes the council tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to acknowledge a couple things. Councilor Peach has done a fabulous job in bringing the parties together and finding out what the neighbors wanted and what's best for the neighborhood. I voted against this in subcommittee. I will be supporting it now because the neighbors want it to go forward and clean up a disgraceful area right now. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Councilor Gould. Before we come to a vote on this, just procedurally, if we could get a motion to receive item 8I.
Under suspension of the rules, Mr. President, motion to receive 8I, which is the recommendation from the Planning Board to approve.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Any other councilors who'd like to speak on this matter? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also did not support this in industrial and community development, and I will not be supporting it tonight. Councilor Peach knows that. I articulated my reasons for that at that time. I'm not going to repeat that tonight, but I certainly understand why my fellow councilors might want to support this, especially Councilor Peach, given the rationale she laid out. I respect that, and but just wanted to make that brief comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the work the ward councilor has done on this, but my concerns remain that I want to see what is being built there before I approve or vote to support a change in zoning. It seems we put the cart before the horse here, so I'd like to see what is being presented before I approve the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Manning, I think we'd all like to see that. I think the petitioner would have preferred to go that route. The opinion that I received from our building department is the zone change would have to go first before a special permit is filed, and we wouldn't be able to vote on them simultaneously. So I would also prefer to have the special permit before us before we vote on a zoning change. I think the petitioner would also prefer to do that, as there's a lot of time and money that's spent into both of these processes. And if, even if this passes tonight and the special permit fails, there's been a lot of time and effort that's gone into this. So I think that's a procedural thing that maybe we can discuss changing in the council or wherever it needs to be changed. But I did try to go that route because it does make a lot more sense for us to see the plans before we change the zoning. But overall, this zoning does, whether the petitioner is the one that develops it or that falls through and is not approved by this council, this zoning change does fit well as it does abut other BC lots. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Manning Martin, in response.
Yes, in response, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Peach. I'm not necessarily suggesting the full special permit process be before us, but without anything, any proposal, any drawings, we're just going into this blind, and that's my issue. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Rossignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. I supported this in subcommittee. I think this is a good project, as well as I think that's going to help a neighborhood in dire need. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilor Cherko.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think quite a few councilors here know that initially that I was against this. I share Councilor McGinn's concerns. I share Councilor Manning Martin's concerns, although I did look at a plan on the site. I believe there is a plan for 12 units on the site. you know, very, very infrequently do we go to a site and have zero neighborhood opposition. I think the neighbors ask for this, they want this, they prefer this, and far be it from me to oppose something the neighbors are okay with. It is a blighted, abandoned lot. We have far too many of them that need to be developed, and, you know, I just, in my opinion, as much as I disagree with the frequency that we do zone changes, I think that in cases of abandoned vacant lots and buildings that we've been stuck with for 20, 30 years, you know, it's time that we make exceptions and try to move these parcels along. So I would be in favor of it.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Are there any other councilors who'd like to discuss this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Beach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I move to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody as follows. Section 1, that the zoning map of the City of Peabody entitled City of Peabody Zoning Map adopted April 28, 2011 is, as amended, is hereby further amended as follows. To redesignate the following parcels from residential R2 to central business BC. Assessors map 085, parcel 002H, and numbered 10 Monroe Street. Assessors map 085, parcel 002I, and numbered 12 Monroe Street. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewithin are hereby repealed. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by law. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
No.
Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache, Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
No.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-2.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, councilors.
Councilors, we're now moving on to item 4E, special permit for BTD Investments LLC, 274 Newberry Street, regarding an amendment special permit for the use of an indoor recreation facility generally without being limited to a specific sport. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from BTD Investments, LLC, 9 Martin Road, Middleton, Mass., for a special permit requesting to amend special permit 7-2017 and 17-2017 to allow for use as indoor recreation facility generally without being limited to a specific sport at 274 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Clerk Danforth, with the petitioner's representation, introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City of Peabody City Council. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices here at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Mass., and I appear on behalf of BTD Investments, LLC, who are operating a sports facility at 274 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. I had prepared the application permit in which I requested that we amend special permit number 17 of 2017 and special permit number 7 of 2017 to allow the use as an indoor recreation facility generally without being limited to a specific sport. I did note that in the file with you of old special permit, which was very specific, that it was exclusively to be used for baseball and baseball lessons, training, etc. And now have the opportunity to utilize the facility for things other than baseball. For instance, there is room enough to play basketball, to train in lacrosse, birthday parties, and the like that are around sports. We're happy to answer questions you may have with respect to this evening's presentation.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition this evening?
Go ahead. One thing, we did get a negative, we did get a note from the collector saying taxes weren't paid. I believe you now have something evidence. Great, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor? Zoom would like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition to the petition? Could you please join us at the podium? Hello, would you mind stating your name and address and let us know what you think about this project?
Linda Ballinger, 278 Newbury Street, Lot 42. I've been neighbors of the baseball clinic since it started, and there have been many problems with them as neighbors. The parking on the highways, we've had to call the cops a number of times to have them not park on the highways. They working at night in violation of their special permits, sending water down the street during the night, and coming into our park and flooding our park. And, you know, it's just been, they don't let us know what's going on, and now they want to change. It's been different things, you know, it went from baseball to softball. Now they want all sports. It just seems like it just keeps changing. And we've never known who to contact. It's just been an LLC, you know. It just doesn't fit right with us, you know. It's just one problem after another. Since they started building this place, they would work weekends and would have to call and have the project stopped because they were, you know, not supposed to be working on weekends and disturbing our peace. And, you know, it's just been one thing after another, and now they want to change it again. And I'm just not happy as a neighbor with these people, and I just want the board to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belanger. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition this evening? Anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache. Sorry, please come up. I apologize.
Name is Jim Conley. I live at 57 Glendale Ave. I manage Whispering Meadows, which is on one side of the building that we're talking about, and Park Place on the other side. And we have had a number of issues with the current group that's there. Most of the violations of it seem to have happened over the last year of noise in the noise in there. There was a lot of night work that was supposed to be done. We were also supposed to be notified of a change in the ownership or in the management, and that was part of the special permit meetings. And we didn't really find out anything about it until we saw this notice that it had already changed and they were trying to change what was going on. We were told that Steve is no longer involved with the program. So it's very concerning how it got in there and how it's been managed for the last few years. And so we continue to have our concerns of leaving it alone the way it is or making changes until the city gets a way to manage them better. It shouldn't be us calling the police in the middle of the night. Police obviously travel up and down the street. They obviously see it going on. The state police travel up and down Route 1. They see cars lined up. It's not as difficult for a Park Place that's after them as it is for Whistling Meadows. You can't even get out of the park when parents decide to pick up. So it's very concerning now that's going to be happening during birthday parties and other school events. And that wasn't the idea of what the special permit, that's not the heart of how they presented the special permit 2 years ago and 3 years ago when we started this. Okay?
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else here who'd like, yes, please come up. please introduce yourself and provide your address and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Go the drill. My name's Marsha O'Leary. I live at 278 Newbury Street, number 36, and I'm here basically to oppose the petition. Number one, they have been operating this business since August 26, 2021, when Mr. Lemesney pulled out his baseball, and there was no application to change the business. So now here we are, almost 2 years later, now wanting to change the business that's there, even though they continue to have to operate the business, which our understanding is gymnastics, and also was girls softball. The biggest problem we have had with this particular development is if there's a violation, we have no one to contact. And the special permit lists BTD, whatever, the alphabet soup, but with no human attached to it. There were 2 special permits issued. The original special permit that was issued to Mr. Lemesney was February 2nd, 2017, and then it was changed in April of that year. On the special permit, I can read it to you if you'd like. There's only 4 things. No outdoor construction on Saturday, only indoor construction allowed. Number 2, a fence will be constructed around the entire perimeter of the property. Number 3, a special permit transfer will require a public hearing. And 4, lighting on any sign will be turned off after hours. Number 1, they have never come and asked for a sign. There is no sign that designates this piece of property for what they're doing. Anybody who's driven by there realizes that. One of the biggest violations that they did, I honestly do not have the exact dates, was they decided to hot top the parking lot. The crew arrived at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Now remember, no construction outside on Saturday. They proceeded to start stripping down the hot top, continued doing it until 1 a.m. They stopped. They came back at 4 a.m. and continued and worked until 5 o'clock in the afternoon all day Saturday. No one, I'm sorry to say, no one in our park called the police, which is what I would have done had I known. But I live way in the back of the park, so I didn't hear all the construction. Plus, I have 2 hearing aids and I'm half deaf. That was the biggest violation. And I'm sorry, I know you all live in a residential neighborhood, as do we. They're residential on all 3 sides. There are over 400 units that surround them. We sit below them. Park Place sits above them. The other problem that we have, and this I do have a date for, April 13, 14. I don't know what happened, but they were pumping water off the property onto the breakdown lane of Route 1. There is a drain, but part of the water went into the drain. The other piece of the water wound up coming into our property, and they're flooding us out, and we have a road that has been totally destroyed. And that's not fair. Plus, I do believe that you're not allowed to pump your water onto somebody else's property. I may be incorrect about that, but I don't think so. The biggest problem that we have in the most recent special permits are, even though you listed the company, there's no human being for me to call if something goes wrong. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm president of the board of directors for Whispering Meadows Co-op, if you're wondering who I am and why I speak. But But your original permit that was done listed Thomas McMillan as manager at 27 Water Street, Unit 210, in Wakefield, as BTD Investments. What I'm going to request on the special permit is that somebody is physically named so that we be able to contact them if we have a problem, such as the hot top job that happened on the weekend when, of course, City Hall was closed. I mean, you guys deserve a day off too. But what winds up happening is I document everything, and on Monday morning, I go down to the building inspector's office where it's like for me going to Cheers, everyone knows my name, and filling out the complaint with the building inspector. But I don't think we should have to do that, and I don't think we should have to be calling the police. If they want the permit, that's fine. Keep the business inside. If you're going to be doing work on the outside, at least let your abutters, Park Place on one side, Whispering Meadows on the other, know in advance. But right now, I don't think they need to do anything else. That's my primary complaint. Does anybody have a question that they want to ask me? And guess what? I'll bet you could all hear me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening. Are there any other attendees who would like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair to the petitioner or Mr. Kelty, is there anybody here representing the business other than you?
Tom.
Could I please have him come to the podium?
Sure. Tom McMillan, who is manager of the LLC, which is the same LLC. There was never a transfer. BTD bought it. BTD got the special permit, and so they're still BTD.
Okay. Thank you. As please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Tom McMillan, 9 Martin Road, Middleton. I'm one of the managers of BTD Investments. To her concerns, we had a pipe that broke. We pumped the water outside into our drain and never made it onto the highway. If it made it to her property, I wish she would have called. We would have addressed it, but I was there.
And in fairness to the residents of 278 Whispering Meadows, I happen to live on Route 1, and the water did go down Route 1.
Did it?
Yes, it did. So I witnessed it myself, and I was told it was a water break, so I understand that. Yeah. But you've heard the litany of concerns that they have, and rightfully so. They have issues. They should be able to call someone
I'd be more than willing to give her my cell phone number.
And the other thing is that, and again, the water break, nobody can predict that. That's understandable. But the paving and stuff like that.
I don't know if it was on a Saturday. I can't.
It was on a Saturday.
Was it on a Saturday?
Yes.
And I think what could have happened was, I think it was in November.
I don't know, Marcia. Maybe you remember when it was. I think it was in the
yeah,
fall.
So I think what happened was, was it in November? Okay.
Yes, okay. So the issue becomes that there was construction or operational work done outside of the building against the issues that were for construction of the building. My biggest concern is that I know at the beginning there was traffic, there was cars parked on Route 1. And I think that was first at the inception of the whole process when things were going really well. And I can attest to everything that Ms. Solari and the others have said because I drive by that frequently. But the issue now is that these people need some type of ability to call.
Comfort.
And in fairness to them, they shouldn't have to call if there's an issue that is going to take place that is directly going to affect them, that you should give them the opportunity to at least call and let them know. I do know that there was some inside work done when you did the floors. I believe it was the floors. You had Champlain in there to do that. And that was done, I believe, over a weekend as well, but I'm not sure. But not here nor there. There was water runoff naturally. That was with a break, and I understand those issues, but it did happen, in fact.
I apologize. If she would like my cell phone number just to contact
I
me,
would,
I'd be more than willing to.
you know, after this meeting, I would like you to give any information to Whispering Meadows that they would be capable of contacting you. I'm sure as a manager, you're available 24/7.
Absolutely.
To get into the change of, and it's all recreational, but you're adding lacrosse, you're adding lacrosse, possible lacrosse training, basketball, gymnastics.
All sports.
Yes. Do you anticipate, and I'm sure you anticipate an increase in business naturally, but do you, as far as signage is concerned?
Signage is next.
Is next?
As you know, we spent a substantial amount of money there, and as the money runs out, you try to replenish it, and it's going to cost a substantial amount for a sign that actually would work in that spot. It's kind of a tough spot, just because you come from the trees, and you only catch our area a certain amount. So either we're going to put it on the building, or we're going to put it up front.
I would recommend that it be further out towards Route 1, just to give the ability of those people that aren't familiar with the property to know exactly where it is.
Correct.
Because we did have driving by and backing up on because they missed the entrance.
I agree.
I think that's one issue that will hopefully allow for people to know exactly where to enter and not go past it, and then back up on Route 1.
Sure.
Do you have specific leagues or anything like that that are going to be taking place there, or are you just going to have club sports come in and teach and stuff like that?
You know, you can't focus on two sports. You're not going to survive.
Yeah.
And as we know, sports business, you focus on just one or two, your business is about a year.
Expect to have leagues there.
We could potentially have leagues, yes.
I'm just trying to make sure that whatever, if this is granted tonight, that we are all understand exactly what's going on. Now you got, it looks like portable basketball.
Being in a week.
They're going.
They're going.
Okay. That was the other thing I had was wondering about. The as far as gymnastics, do you have a company that's going to come in there, or is it just going to be a
Yellow Jackets?
Yellow Jackets?
They're the largest probably in the area.
I know, and that's why I was told Yellow Jackets in there.
Yeah.
And they're a great group. I wish you the best with that. And,
thank you very much.
And as long as we have an understanding between you, not only Whispering Meadows, but Place as well, that same list to be able to call you.
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, it's amenable to me that would allow you to add types of sports to this, providing that we're all on the same page as far as what you can and cannot do. And Marsha's alluded to the fact that there are certain things that concern them, and I would hope that the two parties, along with the place, can maybe meet once a month or something like that and go over what's going on so that everybody's on the same page.
So the gentleman that is behind us, to the left of us, and in the front, so the three gentlemen, they already have my cell phone number. Apparently, I never got together with Marsha. She'll have my number, but the gentlemen that are already abutting us, they told me they would have came up. I said, I don't think it's needed.
Those are Park Place.
So if you're looking at our building to the left.
The left is
the
Park
back.
Place, So I want to address basically Whispering Meadows concerns. I want to make sure that they feel comfortable that they can address issues with you, and you simultaneously address issues that you think may impact them. If you have a large crowd you're expecting, pick up the phone, say, you know, we got X amount of people coming in for an exhibition or whatever, and let's go from there.
I have nothing to hide. I'm more willing to answer phone calls If she has a problem, I will address it.
well,
I'm not far from that.
I appreciate that, and I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Gamache. Council Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember when this was initially proposed several years ago, and the neighbors showed up and they expressed their concerns, and it did pass unanimously to construct the building there for baseball instruction. And then about 2 months later, they were back in asking to expand the building. So within 2 months, they wanted to make it larger than they did when they got the special permit. So that was a red flag to me, so I voted against it to be amended to make it larger, because it appeared then that exactly what the neighbors feared was going to happen started to happen right out of the gate. So, you know, and now they're coming forward and they want to make it any and all types of sports. And I just think that it was a bad fit for that building to go there from the beginning, and then it was expanded. And I still think it's a bad fit. And the issue is now it's there, and it's owned, you know, by this gentleman who wants now to have less restrictions on his special permit. And they really, how do you make someone be a better neighbor, Councilor Gamache? They just haven't been a good neighbor to these residents. And, you know, I don't know how you make that happen in a special permit. Opening up the dialogue to say, you know, exchange phone numbers, have meetings. I just think we'll be back here the next time they want to change their special permit, and we'll hear the same complaints. So this really is kind of Groundhog Day for me with that site. So, you know, you're a very experienced ward councilor with Route 1 issues. I just would hope you would have some ideas to put some conditions on this special permit instead of open dialogue, because the business has been there for years and they don't have the dialogue. The fact that they don't have each other's phone numbers, I really don't have any faith that this dialogue is gonna build any bridges or open communication to improve the relationship with this business at that location. Because again, I think it's just a bad location for this type of business. But it is there, and they're going to have to make it work. But I just think it's the business that needs to put the effort in to make it work, not the neighbors. The neighbors have to live there and deal with it, and they've been doing that for years. And I just, you know, I'd like to see the situation improve. I won't be supporting the amendment, but I just hope that the ward councilor can come up with some more concrete recommendations to improve the situation there for the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Manning Martin. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Attorney Kelty. Jack, how many parking spaces are there?
52. 62, I'm sorry.
They are all around the building?
They are predominantly in the front. There are some to the right-hand side, and then there's a row in the back, yes.
When it currently gets crowded, I know they park on Route 1, which is probably against the law, but...
It is against the law.
Yeah. So I've been involved through Mrs. O'Leary in a number of issues. Every time something happens, Masha would give me a call and say, they're at it again. Working outside of the allowed construction hours was a constant. Cars on Whispering Meadows property was a constant. Mud that ran down off of the property and ended up down in their property it was constant. I can't tell you how many times Masha O'Leary would call me. So unless, like Councilor Manning Martin said, unless we can come up with some kind of motivation to do the right thing and be a good neighbor, which you can't institute by a special permit, at this point I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Any other councilors on this matter? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. There was kind of a informal exchange there with respect to the tax bill, and I think I saw the clerk suggest we have some kind of a receipt, but I just want to know for the record that that actually is in place. The information that we have from the collector's office is that as of the 8th of June, there was $20,201.18 owed.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. Clerk Danforth, would you mind providing some insight?
Yes. Counselor, I received an email from the city collector on Thursday, June 15th, that they received a check and that they are no longer delinquent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
We
Councilman.
actually have a credit, $48.92.
Well, that's great, Attorney Kelty, but it takes a little while to accumulate a $20,000 tax debt, so maybe we could do a little better going forward. Maybe you could mention that to your client. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would add, I share the same concerns that the councilors have brought up with, a litany of, or history of code violations. I would just remind the petitioner that if this is approved tonight, or even if it isn't, a special permit is in place in those conditions. If they are not met and complied with, we can have a show cause hearing and close the business down. So this isn't just about the manager now offering the cell phone, 6 years later to some people. They can comply with the conditions as they should. And if there are problems, there should be dialogue, but we shouldn't have to be chasing after them to follow the rules that they've agreed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Are there any other councilors who'd like to speak on this matter? Councilor Turgo.
I mean, ultimately, I'd like to hear what Councilor Gamash's solutions are, but I just wanted to state for the record that, I've dealt with Tom McMillan on a few occasions through some other leagues, and I'm surprised to hear, what I'm hearing tonight. So I came in, prepared to just vote yes that, we were going to allow all sports here, and it was a simple change of use. But I'd like to hear what Councilor Gamache has to say, because I wasn't aware of any of the issues. So I'll defer
Thank
to
you, Councilor
Councilor
Turco. Before we go back to Councilor Gamache, are there any other councilors? All right, if you'll indulge me just for a second, I had a couple questions for Attorney Kelty as well. Through you to your client, or if you might know the answer to this, is there intention on offering tournament play in addition to the training and the leagues that you've offered?
That would depend on the sport and also the size of these premises with respect to tournaments. It would be difficult to have, I think, a tournament based on the space that we have to offer. For instance, most places, basketball, you wouldn't have any kind of baseball or softball, obviously, that's training. But some of the other sports do lend themselves to being operated, but I think that we would have basketball 3 courts? Yeah, there's such a limitation on the number of areas that they could afford. I don't see tournaments really being a thing. A league, to the extent that, if it was basketball, if two teams playing at the same time, followed by another set of teams. But the tournaments usually bring everybody at the same time. Everybody stands around waiting for you to lose, me to win, whatever it may be. And so I don't see tournaments being held there. I will say that if we offer, the Board of Health gave us a memorandum that said if we're going to run camps, we have to file, register with them as to, there's a set of rules as to bathroom facilities, et cetera, when you operate a camp. So we are aware of the requirement. If we're offering any kind of camp setting, we have to register further with the Board of Health.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. And to your point, as an ardent fan of girls flag football, which I know you are, there are 8-on-8 with 4 fields gives you 62 people. So I know all the grandparents and all the parents, as much as we would like to encourage carpooling, there goes all of your parking, and then that's the issue on Route 1. So I just want to be mindful of that and maybe encourage Councilor Gamache as we maybe look to condition that any sort of language around making sure that there's adequate parking for whatever the sporting event is. I know the building is there, and I want it to be successful. I just do, particularly on the parking on Route 1, I want to be realistic about how we can manage that. But thank you. No other questions for me. Any other councilors? All right, Councilor Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Councilor Manning Martin pointed out, that there are certain things that have to be tried to resolve before we can continue this deliberation, if you want to call it. And I would extend an invitation to the representatives of Whispering Meadows and your client, myself, and maybe a representative from Park Place to meet and go over some of the issues and try to iron out some of the problems and continue this to the 13th. My schedule is open, and if Mr. Kelty can set up something with Park Place and Whispering Meadows, I would highly recommend that. We can meet, we can try to resolve some of these issues, get a better understanding from not only Whispering Meadows but Park Place, and try and work out some of these conditions and move forward with it once we get those recommendations. Is that agreeable to you, Marcia? Okay. To you, Mr. Kelty, is that agreeable? Now the question becomes through the chair to Mr. Kelty. Do you anticipate being able to do this prior to the meeting on the 13th of July, or would you rather come be the last meeting in August?
I'd like to be back the 13th of July, and I am not objecting to trying to set a date right now.
If you meet with them and come up with a date, just contact me and I'll be available.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine.
So at this time, I would move to continue this meeting to July 13th. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Roll call vote. We don't have to roll call that one. Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 4F. Before we get there, could I get a motion for late 1?
Move to receive.
Councilor McGinn.
Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item late 1. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Late 1 is a request from the applicant for a continuance to July 13th. Just for the edification of the council, you may have seen in the package there are some significant issues, health department concerns with this application, and trying to allow adequate time for that to get, for the applicant to get that sorted out. So I would move to approve the continuance, to grant the continuance to July 13th. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Moving on to item 4G, special permit for 55 Pulaski Street Realty Trust. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 22nd, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from 55 Pulaski Street Realty Trust, Dennis and Georgia Giannis, trustee, 55 Pulaski Street, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit requesting to convert the structure at 55 Pulaski Street being a pub/restaurant called Roadhouse Pub with apartments above, said restaurant being a pre-existing non-conforming use, and replace the same with 22 townhouse-style residential units at 55 Pulaski Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. With the petitioner's representation, please reintroduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do.
At the risk of being redundant. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I could drone on forever and ever. The reason I'm here this evening is I represent Dennis and Georgia Giannis, who are trustees of 55 Pulaski Street Realty Trust. They are the owners and operators of the real estate and the business known as the Roadhouse Pub. We are seeking a special permit pursuant to the provisions of Section 151 of the zoning ordinance, which is our section dealing with nonconformity. We are seeking a special permit from the City Council to convert the structure at 55 Pulaski Street, being a pub restaurant called a Roadhouse, with apartments above at the current time. The restaurant is pre-existing non-conforming, and we want to replace it with 22 townhouse-style residential units. We have met with the neighbors on a number of occasions. This matter was first brought to the attention almost 2 years ago to the City Council. There was a question of whether a special permit was appropriate. We did receive an opinion from the city solicitor, Elizabeth Lashway, in which she ruled that it could be the subject of a special permit. We had provided information to the department at that time, which was actually a series of cases. The most recent case is the Valley High over in Linfield, in which they sought to tear down the Valley High and then replace it with a condominium project. So we passed that muster, and then pursuant to the City Council rules, we submitted site plan review. We have been reviewed by Horsley Witten, Ty and Bond, Weston Sampson, World Tech with respect to traffic information we filed. And we have received a closeout memorandum from the Department of Public Services in response to our back and forth with the peer reviewers. Having said that, we are moving forward. We then did meet with the neighbors on several occasions. I met once or twice my client and Joe Betancourt, who was our architect. They've met more frequently than even I have. We're happy to say that we looked at issues with respect to how could we buffer ourselves from the existing residences that are on that are behind us. And Joe's presentation this evening, the first of which is on the board, it demonstrates the thickness of the existing vegetation plus vegetation to be offered. We have agreed with the neighbors as a special permit. We've prepared a sketch that shows planting to take place on both our side and on the neighbor's side. We have developed a set of conditions, one of which deals with this, and I'm sure Councilor Peach will bring it to the fore. But we have tried to emulate, I think when Joe speaks briefly after I do, tried to emulate what appears to be almost a cul-de-sac appearance to this little village. And we're replicating a series of cul-de-sac type areas that are around the Gardner Park area and the areas Westview and the streets that are out behind us. We have discussed these plantings. They were the principal object of attention with respect to our neighbors' concerns, but Very importantly, there was a very great concern about stormwater management. There has been, over a period of time, this is the sheet from Eastern Land Survey plans that were prepared and were the subject of the peer review. Those blue areas are infiltration areas and stormwater management facilities that will keep virtually all of our water, reducing runoff very significantly. And the direction of the water that will run off even after the development of these stormwater detention facilities, they are, the water will run from the right-hand side, which is up gradient. If you travel on Pulaski Street from Wilson Square, you'll note that you're traveling downhill. And so the water follows that same pattern, and water wants to be collected in the triangular corner where we have no construction. That is our largest detention area, and the blue areas are stormwater infiltration. Again, all of which has been, all of our numbers, all of our presumptions have been reviewed by the peer reviewers and are the subject of a closeout memorandum that we did receive. If we are successful in obtaining a special permit, we will go out to bid looking at prices for construction, development, et cetera. And there would not be any groundbreaking on this, probably not even, perhaps not even this year? No, probably in all likelihood not even this year. So as such, we're hopeful that you will consider approval of the subdivision. I'm sorry, approval of the special permit, and we're happy to answer any questions that we may have. I think, Joe, do you want to? No? If you'd like to go through the slide presentation, Joe can take you, he created them, and Joe Betancourt can take you through there if you'd like to take a moment. Yes, yes? Council? Sure.
Good evening. My name is Joe Betancourt. I'm an architect with the design studio here in Peabody at 14 North Central Street. Just to add to Attorney Kelty's comments, we did meet with the neighbors, and actually we would like to thank them for meeting with us. We met 4 or 5 times. Our meetings really collectively, we think, made the project much better, especially the edge where we sort of share, which is where you see the 3 circles and then our circle, traced in red is our site. So thank you to the neighbors for taking the time to meet with us. It really has helped our project. Just very quickly, so this diagram sort of represents the essence of how we came up with the plan for the development. So you see the 3 circles. Those neighborhoods, 2 of the streets end in the cul-de-sac. So our basic goal is to really bring that scale, that texture, that grain of those neighborhoods and just simply bring them to our site and create our own little neighborhood. And as you can see, Pulaski Street runs left to right. To the right is Wilson Square, just for orientation, and to the left is headed towards Danvers. So just quickly looking at the aerial. So here you see sort of the cluster of the 11 duplexes. You see the arrival court in the middle. We're trying to get as much landscape as we can in that. Obviously, the parking will be held in that location. We do have 2 primary entries, essentially the entries that are there today. We're just going to right-size those, make them safer and much more intuitive. You'll see also, too, that we have 3 unit types, so we don't have one duplex that we're just simply stamping 11 times. We want to try to create some scale and texture and grain. Again, bring some of the quality of the neighborhood onto our site. The landscaping, I think some of the conversation that came out of with the neighbors is that the landscaping is going to help them with visibility to not only our project but to Pulaski Street, as well as sort of the tighter density is going to help them with the noise. So just a 3D view of that. We touched on this already. Just wanted to show these. These were sent by Kathy Wells, beautiful landscape images that really sort of describe the kind of the look and feel of what we're trying to do along that edge. So it was very helpful, and I just wanted to show those. So just quickly to touch on this. So this is the diagram that Attorney Kelty referred to. As you can see, so the red diagonal line, that is the fence. So we have 12 Canadian hemlocks that you see sort of on the neighbor's side, which we've agreed to plant and locate once the development is done. We actually went out there, we looked at the view corridors and determined sort of where we needed to do plantings. So those are the 12 that you see. We're on our side, we're looking at some red maples to bring some color and scale as well. And then just quickly looking at a simple street view. So if you're coming down Pulaski Street from Wilson Square, this is what we're calling the main entry. So here you see sort of an improved sidewalk condition. We are proposing a paved sidewalk on Pulaski Street. We want to try to really beautify that with landscaping, really enhance the public realm. The development you can see is more of a backdrop, really from the street. So it's really about trying to improve that pedestrian experience with landscaping and sidewalk. So this is another view coming up Pulaski Street. So this is the second entry. Again, same messaging. We'll have the sidewalk to kind of improve that pedestrian experience, really trying to create as much landscape as we can along that edge. If we can afford it, we'd like to do a little fence just to give it some scale and a little bit of privacy as well. And then finally, just getting into the courtyard. Again, it's really the same themes. We want to try to get as much landscape as we can and really, again, bring some of the charm and some of the scale and character from the neighbors onto our property. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Any questions from the councilors regarding the presentation? All right, seeing none, excuse me, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate the presentation from the architect. It always adds a lot. We didn't have it ahead of time, however, so I will make a motion to receive it after the fact here, but if we could get electronic versions of that so that we have that available, that'd be appreciated. So move to receive, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. The motion was to receive the presentation after the fact this evening. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor McGinn. We have opened this for anyone who wants to speak in favor. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor? Anyone on Zoom who wants to speak in favor? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition to this petition? Sure, come on up.
Hi, my name is Darlene George. I live at 17 Westview Circle. I'm in a butter. I think it's going to look beautiful. My only qualm is we've had water in the past. I hope that this is going to be an improvement to our water. It seems to be the way they're going to be designing it. My only concern is the water, replacement of the fence, and the trees, which it looks beautiful. I just hope that it's going to be exactly what is presented. But just question, if within a year and we go through a spring and we're overloaded with water, do we have any recourse, or once it's done, it's done? That's my only concern, because I think it's beautiful. It's a big improvement than having the bar there. So that's my concern, just the water.
Thank you very much. I don't know if Attorney Kelty or Mr. Betancourt, if you'd like to speak to the comment regarding the water mitigation.
No, we we have designed fully. We have had that thoroughly reviewed by Horsley Witten, and we believe that we are adequately and more than adequately handling water runoff, not only from our land, but there's land to the south, the upgradient side coming off of other properties that travels across this. We have to accept that as a natural condition. We will not deter that water from coming onto our property, but then it'll all be handled in infiltration chambers, and in that last in the triangle, the stormwater management facility, and then it meanders its way out.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Anyone else who'd like to speak? We're in up. Yeah, come on up. We had moved to speaking in opposition, so is that, or if you missed your opportunity to, okay, so does anyone here want to speak in favor first? Yeah, no, I'm in favor. Okay, then come on up, we'll do that.
Hi, I'm Kathy Wells, 22 Westview Circle. No, I'm not in opposition this time. I like the project for it. The only thing I know Stephanie's been working on it, but I just sure that trying to collect the water at the bottom, the pipe that went over to the bus lot is blocked because when they created the bus lot, so they're using that as their final area for water. I just want to make sure that the city helps them take care of that to get out of that triangle. Other than that, I think the project looks great, and as long as the special conditions that are going to be presented followed, we're good with it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? If you could come on up, thank you. We're doing in favor, right? Is that? Okay. Just clarify, either is opposition. It's just, go ahead.
Yeah, so Wesley Oprzetek, across from the roadhouse here. And our electrical post is directly by the fence. So I'm not sure, how this is going to affect. I sent an email the other day. I apologize, I wasn't able to make it before. And then another thing is, also traffic, yeah? So for me, I think that currently on Pulaski Street, yeah, there's already traffic because people try to avoid going to Salem, 114. So now by putting 22, units there, I think that the traffic is going to become much more, yeah? If you look at the housing, if you look at the neighborhood, probably on the same area of the how space available, you have maybe, 8 houses, and now you have 22 units, in the same kind of a congested area, yeah? So that's one thing. And also I have a kind of, concern with you when, you're showing a fence at the very end, and you say, if money permits from the project, we will have this fence there, I think that, what other cuts will be made, yeah, to this project if for example, a fence that maybe costs, small portion, you already made a comment that might not be there, yeah, for the front. The fence? Yeah. Because you made a comment at the fence. If there's extra money, you will have the fence in the front, yeah?
Yeah, but we just haven't talked about it, but yet the intent is to try to get that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, that if you have a project of this magnitude, and you're saying that the fence like this, that's very small, what other things might not be there that looks good on the picture, but, might not be there in reality, yeah? So that's my concern, yeah?
So if you'd like to respond, we need to have you come up to the mic to respond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, there is no one more passionate in this room about doing a good project than our team. So we respect that question, and it's a legitimate question. Everything that we're showing conceptually, we are intending to do as best we can. Obviously, you know, there may be a couple of things that once we get to pricing, we may have to scale back a bit. But everything that we're showing, that is the intent for our project. And thank you for the question.
Thank you. So the question is there going to be an easement for the power pole that's there currently? Correct?
So I think the question is, do you get power from Pulaski Street through the site?
So I'm sorry, we got to have this a little bit more structured. So if we're back and forth, like you can come back up, but we need to be able to get this so that anybody who's following at home can follow along.
And thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood the question originally. So the intent is, so right now there is a pole on Pulaski Street, and there's a very long wire that goes through the site to give them power. They're the neighbor directly behind. The intent is for us to, you want to answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that question came up at site plan review meeting, both with the construction review committee and then at a later date, the PMLP provided input at the planning board in the person of Roy. And so they are very aware, PMLP is aware that that gentleman's power comes from Pulaski across our property. We will either relocate it at our expense, or I believe that the PMLP is going to ask for an easement once they determine whether that pole is still going to be the source of that particular power. So we will take direction on that issue from the PMLP, and we will provide whatever easements are necessary.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor?
Councilor Turco and I have spoken a few times. I will say I'm Wendy Thomas from 10 Westview Circle. I initially was resistant about this project, but after going to a neighborhood meeting, seeing the renderings that Joe Betancourt has put together, I do think it's a remarkable improvement to what's there, aesthetically, as well as having residents that are going to take pride in their ownership of the condos, as opposed to with all due respect, some of the riffraff that goes to this bar, throwing bar bottles, beer bottles over the fences and having fights in 2 o'clock in the morning. So I do think it's a huge improvement, and I am in support of it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to first thank all the residents for not only being here tonight, because I know it is a long night, but for all of the meetings that you've attended over the past several months. This is a project that was in discussion before I was even elected, and I think it's the first thing that you called me about when I was running. So we've been talking about this for a long time. I'm confident in the water management plan that was approved by our city engineer, by the applicant's engineer, and by third-party review. I do want to touch on some of the comments. So the gentleman that lived at Two Sparrow Lane, West, touch on the comments about Tech mentioned, in the front, and depending on how numbers play out. I do want to say I have a list of conditions, and those conditions are not negotiable, so those are, doesn't matter what the fences are there. So the fence that abuts property is 100% going. The trees that we've agreed to, the landscape plan, are 100% going. As far as aesthetics in front of the property and things get into detail on in our neighborhood meetings. That, you know, there is some discussion as to what actually the buildings will be, what was presented and approved through the entire review and site plan review, but the fence between and their property will be. So I do, with that, have a list of conditions so that my fellow councilors are. I plan to condition no holiday hours can be approved or holiday hours. These affordable are under our perpetuity. Special permit will not be transferable to build the project sold off. And several, this is a long condition. It does that was presented to us today. As far as the landscape, I will put it on record. That plan shows Gallant, that's West. So just, I know Gallant is next door, but just that we're talking about Westview Circle there, but that this condition really goes into detail as the height of the fence, the color of the fence, the types of trees which were presented to us tonight, and there's also a condition that after 1 year of planting of the trees, the applicant will revisit the site to determine that all the trees have rooted properly, and any that have not shall be replaced with a new tree of similar size and variety, and also to ensure that the desired buffer is being met with the location of the planting. So after a year, you know, one grow season basically, we'll have a much better idea of what this buffer looks like. I think the buffer significantly benefits the neighbors on Westview as they truck traffic from the industrial park across the street. I think these buildings and the buffer for them and improve quality of life. They buffer for, you know, the future residents of this new townhouses with like a nice light buffer. So there's been a lot of compromise, a lot of discussion with the developer and the neighbors for working with us, because it's been a long road, but we're finally here. So I'll turn it over to the councilors if they have any specific questions.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Any councilors have any questions on this or want to speak on this matter? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I just want to commend the ward council for her work on this, and also the neighbors and the petitioner for getting together and having civil conversations about how this project was going to move forward. And I have to say, too, that I can't think of any better project that I've seen coming in under pre-existing non-conforming use. This is a perfect project and under option, given that it was a restaurant with a lot of activity out. So again, I just think it's existing is, I can think of any. So I'm in favor of this, and I'm looking forward to the improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Turco.
Very much, Mr. President. You know, this is a pretty good night. Council, you know, back we $1,000 taxes potentially. We cleaned up a vacant lot, and we're about vitalization of a blighted area. So congratulations, Peach, into Ward 3. Was in favor of this project. To see some of the conditions, Council, glad they were, and you know, like I wanted to express that this is a very successful night.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any other councilors? Daigle.
Through you to Attorney Kelty. So it's in 44 spot parking management plan. If a person with has two cars and has, it's not assigned.
Actually, we do have visitor parking that is built in. That would be the parking. Each of the units has those that have a garage space, and then the driveway outside. Those without garages have the spaces outside their unit, and there is parking in the center area, which would be a small row for visitor parking. So we do comply. We've sought no waiver or variance from the parking requirements.
Perfect, but there are 44 spots? And you comply? 44 spots? Yes. Okay, thank you.
There are more. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. As a quick follow-up, Attorney Kelty, regarding, I know these are going to be owner the condos are going to be owned by individuals. How are you managing the handicap parking spots? I know that there's a formula for that, but if you had somebody who had a need for an accessible parking area, I mean, is there an area that you've already pre-designated, or is that going to go with the purchase of the condo?
There are no designated, except for, is there one in the visitor spot? Yeah. In the visitor area, there is a designated HP, but if any of the individual owners were to ask for us to allocate a space to them, we're happy to do that. We can do that.
Great, thank you. Any other councilors? Seeing none, Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I close the public hearing, I did want to touch on the traffic concerns that were expressed tonight as well. There was a traffic study done for this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Kelty. There's also been several traffic studies for other developments or projects, proposed projects, specifically within like 300 feet of this property. So the projection of impact on traffic on this is minuscule, and I would, if the bar was at operating capacity, this is actually a less the traffic impact than what a bar would bring through the week. So I do share those concerns. I live the street from you on Martin Terrace, so I drive very frequently, and I am cautious of the impact of traffic on our local roads. But I did want to just address that move. So if any motion to close, if anyone wants to. But.
Seeing none, Councilor Peach.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Councilors, have you heard the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know why I closed my laptop, because that's where all the conditions are. All right, so at this time, I move to approve the special permit application for 55 Pulaski Street Realty Trust, Dennis and Georgia Giannis trustee, requesting to convert the structure at 55 Pulaski Street being a pub restaurant called Roadhouse Pub with apartments above, said restaurant being pre-existing non-conforming use, and replace the same with 22 townhouse-style residential units at said 55 Pulaski Street with the following conditions. 1, the applicant is not approved for Sunday. Thank you. The applicant's not approved for Sunday or holiday working hours. No construction or work activity shall be or is allowed on Sunday or holidays, including but not limited to delivery or removal of materials. Number 2, compliance with Section 6.11 of the City of Peabody zoning ordinance. Inclusionary zoning requirements is required as a condition of this special permit. Further, the affordable units developed under this permit shall be subject to this section and requirements in perpetuity. Number 3, the special permit shall not be transferable without the approval of the permit granting authority. Number 4, the special permit approves a plan entitled Site Development Permit Plan, Millview 55 Pulaski Street, Peabody, Mass., prepared for 55 Pulaski Realty Trustee, prepared by Eastern Land Survey Associates, Inc., dated January 19th, 2023. All landscaping is to be in accordance with that plan and as depicted more specifically on a document entitled Planting Diagram along the rear fence at Millview Development, 55 Pulaski Street, prepared by Joseph M. Betancourt, AIA, depicting an 8-foot tan or gray vinyl fence at the property line and depicting the installation of a minimum of 12 Canadian hemlocks, 5 red maples, 7 to 9 arborvitae, all to be 6 to 8 feet at installation. The fence will run the full length of the existing fence, and the existing fence will be removed and disposed of off-site. It's understood that this plan shows plantings on the applicant's land and the land of others. Variation from what is shown on this plan shall be allowed in the instant that the applicant or its agents are denied access or authority to install said landscaping. 1 year after planting, the applicant will revisit the landscaping plantings to ensure all trees have rooted properly and are providing the desired buffer. Any trees that did not take properly shall be replaced with a new tree of the same size and variety. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you very much, councilors.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on, before we get to item 4H, could I get a motion for late communication 2?
Mr. President, move to receive late communication 2, so moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Late communication 2 is a communication from the applicant's attorney requesting a continuance. I am supportive of this. Attorney Kelty. We're on 8H, right? So this is 100 Bernie Street, units A9 and A8. I'm telling the council that I am supportive of the continuance request, but this is now, I believe, the fourth request, right? And right now, what is the gating item is the site plan. So I'm trying to understand. I think patience is running a little thin here on the receipt of the site plan. What is your expectation for when?
This is the application 100 Bernie, which is for the landscape company?
That is correct.
Yeah. The neighbors have expressed some concern about dust. We will, I believe that I need to give you, as councilors, a plan which shows no outdoor storage, and I would be asking for the permit to allow the passenger vehicles and a certain number of trucks, but no product, no mulch, none of that stored outdoors. So I need to revise the plan to be showing no bins, no areas for storage of that property.
So that's all, I agree with all that, but the question was, when are we going to see the site plan?
I can have that site plan late next week, for sure.
Okay, in time for so
yes.
it can be properly received. And
your meeting is July 13th, so I got to have
correct.
it in, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. So move to continue this matter to July 13th. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. All right, thank you, councilors. We're moving on. There's no reports of committee this evening. We're moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Turco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Unless you have an objection to it, on behalf of you, I'd like to receive and approve the special permit transfer from Davin Cheat, 145 Summit Street, which was Bianco Sausages, which will now be a similar operation.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Would you mind just providing the number for the clerk as well?
That was item 8F under suspension of the rules. Thomas St. Pierre, Building Commissioner, transfer special permit 24-2019, Davin Cheat, 145 Summit Street.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Co-motion with Councilor Welton to have the crossing light at St. Anne's Church, where it crosses Lynn Street, pole shielding of the traffic light, which the paint has chipped away, and some of the residents would like to see it repainted yellow so it's more noticeable.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also a co-motion with Councilor Councilor Walton to have a crosswalk installed at the area of Radden Park where it crosses at the Richdale, formerly Stonewood Plaza. Do we want flashing beacons at that location also? Okay, we're just going to go with the painted crosswalk and handicap ramps at either end. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. On the motion, any discussion? Just a point of information, Turco, we do want the light board, but the intention being Harkins and Will Paul's that we could possibly phase this in. So the initial need is for the curb cuts for handicap accessible access and also painting of the crosswalk. But we don't want to wait for the lights to be done if we can get this done and then bring the lights in after. So thank you for making the motion.
So moved.
On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to receive item 9C. Must receive and approve all papers being in order under suspension of the rules. Taxi driver's license, Shane Karen, license 1, John Marley, license 2.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unless any of the ward councils have objection, I'll receive and approve items 9D. Block party request, all papers being in order for 31 Donna Street, July 8th, 2023, 5 to 8 Glen Drive, July 15th, 2023, Page Street, August 5th, 2023, Rockdale Avenue from Lynn to Woodlawn, August 5th, 2023.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Turco.
No further motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Turco beat me to the 2 easy items I was going to cross off. So now it's coming at the 10 o'clock hour, I'm going to make the fun public service announcement that Councilor Peach already beat us to the punch with for the 4th of July. I want to invite everyone in the city to the Ward 4 celebration at the formerly Topsfield Fair historic site of Emerson Park on Perkins Street, under some shady tree cover and acres of land to enjoy a Pledge of Allegiance and honoring some Ward 4 scholarship recipients that I'll read momentarily with some games, hot dogs, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, Treadwell ice cream, bouncy houses, face painters, whatever the other wards have, 2 things going on. So please, all are welcome, it's free. Bring your family. It's from 9:30 to 12, and we will be representing. Sally Driscoll will be coming, and some of the Bob Driscoll original Ward 4 committee members to recognize. We have 6 scholarship recipients from 2 from 2022, Julia Lozier and Jason Romans, and from 2023 we're recognizing Kaylin Buckley, Emily Smith, Siobhan Smith, and Penelope Speck. They'll each be receiving or have received $500. So please come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. You sure don't want to do that in a motion so you can hear opposition from the rest of the ward councilors? You good? Okay, thanks. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7A, which is the purchase and sale agreement for 166 Rear Main Street, and refer to legal affairs. So moved.
On the motion, Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that motion, I noticed that it's a request for purchase and sales approval authorization from the council by the mayor for authorization to purchase land for $630,000, and the appraisal that we received is, I see that the mayor does say that it's 105 pages, and it's not included in this packet, in this document. but I think it should be included in this document for us to review and also to be entered into public record. And in particular, the appraiser's letter to us urges us twice for the client to read the extraordinary assumptions and hypothetical conditions section of this report, which is on page 12, but page 12 is not included, neither are another 84 to 90 pages. So I'd like to request that we get that document sent to the council by form of a motion, that document in its entirety be sent to the council for the legal affairs review. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor O'Neill, would you be amenable to adding that condition to the motion that you just made?
Yes, Mr. President. I would just add that we make sure we call it the summary appraisal report. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill.
Sorry.
Councilor Manning Martin, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand what Councilor O'Neill said that was going to be included. I'm sorry.
Councilor O'Neill, would you like to clarify?
Through you, Mr. President, I was referring to the 105-page document, which is the summary appraisal report. Is that what you're referring to, Councilor Manning Martin?
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. So the motion is to refer to legal with also the request for that summary document, the assessor's report, to be included as well. On that motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 7B, which is a purchase and sale agreement for 70 Endicott Street, and refer it to legal affairs. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. On that motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 8E and refer it to the ad hoc committee on aggregate industries. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to request that Mayor Betancourt, along with the city's finance director, Mike Gingras, and city's purchasing agent, Dan Doucette, provide the Legal Affairs Committee with their specific concerns in writing regarding possible adoption of the Responsible Employer Ordinance and outline any language which they believe may adversely affect our city's bidding or procurement efforts. I'd also like to request the city solicitor to provide any suggested alternative wording regarding the same document. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor O'Neill. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one announcement, well, two actually, real brief. I want to let everyone know that I'm planning on trying to schedule a Legal Affairs Committee on Monday, July 10th at 6 p.m. The agenda will go out along with notice, but I just wanted to get that on people's calendar. And then lastly, I did want to also invite residents to Symphony Park on Sunday, July 2nd to help celebrate the annual Ward 6 events celebrating our independence from Great Britain. We'll be kicking things off from 9 a.m. with lots of fun events, including a grilled lunch, and ending with our infamous egg toss competition. No betting will be allowed, but hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Thank you. No further, nothing from you? Okay, great. Stephanie. Councilor Peach, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and approve item 8C, all papers being in order.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor, you heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8D. This is the response from the Albanian Club with their organization and contacts.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 9B and set up a public hearing.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and adopt as advertised item 10E.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
I believe we need a roll call vote. That's an ordinance change.
On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould. Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, Council Peach. Council Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and approve as advertised and adopt as advertised item 10F. I apologize, I didn't do this for the previous item to let you know what it is. This is for a handicapped parking zone on North End Street. So moved.
Thank you, Council Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould. Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you. Council Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for DPS to install a stop sign at Monroe Court and Central Street. We already put that ordinance on the books last year, but the stop sign was never installed, so just so moved to have the sign put up.
Council Peach on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Council Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to let everyone know in Ward 3, and, you know, we can share the rest of the city. Councilor Daigle's already stolen a few Ward 3 residents for her day, but we'll be having a party at Conley Park at the Carroll School starting at 9:30, starting with a patriotic parade. Decorate your bikes, your wagons, your scooters, and we'll be able to show those off. We'll have a great day of hot dogs, cotton candy, Treadwell's ice cream, of course, prizes to be won, gift cards to be raffled off. So it's going to be a great day. We don't have a lot of shady trees at that park, unfortunately, but there are several tents to put up. So it's going to be a fantastic day either way, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Manning Martin.
No motions, Mr. Chairman, but as an at-large councilor, I will be traveling around the city to enjoy all the hard work of the ward councilors and their 4th of July parties. And I do appreciate...
We will hold you to that.
Yes, and I do appreciate all the work that the ward councilors and their volunteers do to make that such a great day for the city. So I thank you all, and I'm looking forward to traveling around.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gould.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Rozignol.
No motions this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rozignol. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, at this time on suspension of the rules, I move to receive item 8A, which is a request for a amendment to the zoning, and send a communication to Planning Board. So move.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, item 8B, under suspension of the rules, a communication from Thomas St. Pierre, Building Commissioner, transfer of special permit 13-2012, Jonathan Silva, 258 Newbury Street, Unit C, move approval, as suggested by the building inspector. So move.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Under suspension of rules, item 8G, move to receive and set up a special permit hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, move to, under suspension of rules, item 8H, Sant Bishoy Incorporated, 598 Lowell Street, set up a special permit application. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
And I will also welcome anybody that would like to attend the 4th of July, on the 4th of July, 9 o'clock to noon time at Cy Tenney Park. And it's basically what everybody else has, except better prizes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache.
And better food. And better food.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor Melville.
Mr. President, I think 10G, on behalf of you, I'd make a motion to suspension of the rules, move to approve as advertised an ordinance amending and adding a handicap sign to 1 Arnold Road. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Melville. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? There's a roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache. Melville. McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors. Councilor Melville.
I have no further motions this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7C and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you heard the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to need some help from the clerk because I don't have the revised agenda. Hold on 1 second. Bear with me, Mr. President. There was a correction, and I know the clerk.
Take your time. Councilor McGinn. Thank you.
Mr. President, under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 9A, DMC Auto LLC, 258 Newbury Street, Unit C, and set up a public hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you. Mr. President, under suspension of the rules, move to receive and adopt as amended item 10B. So moved. And on the motion, Mr. President, this is an ordinance amending section 18-20 entitled Schedule of Compensation for Part-Time Position, and section 18-21 entitled Rates of Compensation for Full-Time Positions Not Subject to Collective Bargaining of the Code of the City of Peabody.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
No.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
No.
Gould.
No.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache. Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-3.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 10C and adopt as advertised. So moved. And on the motion, Mr. President, that is an ordinance amending section 18-20A entitled Schedule of Compensation for Hourly Rated Positions Not Subject to Collective Bargaining of the Code of the City of Peabody.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
No.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill. Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
No.
Gould.
No.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-3.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 10D and adopt as advertised. So moved. And, Mr. President, on the motion, this is an ordinance amending section 18-43 entitled Ordinance Establishing Fringe Benefits for Municipal Employees of the City of Peabody, excluding fire, police, electrical, and school personnel of the Code of the City of Peabody.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote.
Turco.
No.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
No.
Gould.
No.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache. Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-3.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. At a recent meeting of the Finance Committee and reported out, there was a motion to put our salary ordinances online. I've subsequently been informed by the clerk that there's an issue with a conflict in the numbering system used for those ordinances dating back to 1969 and the ordinances that exist online. So we need to get some clarification on that so that we can move forward with this, with putting these online properly so as not in a way that it doesn't create any confusion. So the motion here is to move to request a legal opinion on how to rectify ordinance section number conflicts that exist between salary ordinances and other existing ordinances. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you've heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Councilor Melville.
Real quick, thank you, Mr. President. Aren't we doing the update of the city ordinances? Isn't that part of what that project we're doing?
I had asked, thank you, Mr. President, through you to Councilor Melville. I had asked the clerk about that. I believe we funded that and it did not include the salary ordinances. Is that correct, that update?
So that is correct, Councilor. It does not include it. So the recodification is trying to make sure that we are updated and that inconsistencies with state law are removed. I don't think that something like this would fall under a recodification.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to join with my fellow ward councilors to make everyone feel welcome, primarily Ward 2 residents. I don't know why Councilor Daigle feels compelled to poach from other wards, but she did make a rather bold statement that everything that gets done in other wards gets done better. I've never seen any ponies over there, and I'm just saying we've got ponies, okay? So unless you've got camels and elephants or something that I'm unaware of, we have some absolutely great activities that are going to happen over at the O'Connor Park, which is behind the Wells School. We go from 9 a.m. to noon. We'll have music, we'll have field games, art activity, balloon artists, face painting, misting tent, which is a great attraction. Councilor Gamache did mention...
Oh, the misting tent.
The misting tent's fabulous.
Absolutely, because that's
You've
how I
seen
schedule
this.
my day, because when the sun is high in the sky on July 4th, I make sure I go over to the Wells School for the misting tent for a cool-off.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. We also, we have trees. We have trees that provide shade. I know that was a selling point for Councilor Daigle, so I feel compelled to mention that we also have trees. So we're going to be, again, at 9 to noon at O'Connor Park, the Wells School. We'll kick it off with a patriotic parade. It's going to be a fabulous time. The only one thing that's not going to happen this year is the T-shirt cannon. Unfortunately, that seemed to bring out the worst in some folks there last year, so I was told by my daughter that can never happen again, so I have to respect her opinion because she is very key in the organization of this. So, again, we're really looking forward to celebrating, Mr. President, and I know, unfortunately, because due to your privileged position, you're going to get the last word on this, so that's about as good as I can do.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. There's no motions for me this evening, but you're absolutely correct that I'm going to plug our 4th of July party, which, in my humble opinion, is the best not only in Peabody, but anywhere in the country. So I encourage everybody from far and wide to come and attend and have a wonderful day that will start at the corner of Blair and Linfield at 9:30 with a patriotic parade, and will progress to Radden Road, where you can meet the likes of our state championship dart team, which is the Peabody state champion adult dart throwing members, and also participate in a pie eating contest with back-to-back champions Nick Corbett and Harry Welton. So if you're feeling hungry for some pie, that's your place to go. And we will have a number of different activities going on throughout the course of the day. We have some wonderful T-shirts that we're working on now, some delicious hamburgers from Bertolino Foods, and we'll have a lot of fun activities for everybody. And in all seriousness, please encourage anyone from any of your wards or any family friends to come and check us out. And I hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July party. I know everyone puts a lot of work into it, and we're in a pretty special city where we have so many wonderful people coming out to help us, and so many awesome volunteers and so many neighborhood constituents and people coming out to make sure that all the kids have a great day, kids of all ages. So thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.